I want you to think in your mind, list the things that are the top priorities for the government. That's one of the fun things I do with groups of people. I think it's not fun, but interesting, is to see how we prioritize, even when you're in a group of like-minded people. Give me your top 5. What are the top 5 issues that we face today? And then you will see that many times we have the same top 5, maybe in a different order. Or maybe when you get to number 5, we have a bunch of differences on what the 5th is. And if you went to 10, we'd be a lot more like-minded. But, generally speaking, we understand the economy is going to be one of the top things. The border, going to be one of the top things that we have to address. Crime in this country. We have seen a decrease in violent crime over the last couple of years. That is a great thing. We are seeing a huge decrease in violent crime. That's terrific. But we still have to address what's happening. We've got huge issues in this country. We're more politically divided than we have been, I think, since the Civil War. That doesn't mean as people we're divided, but certainly as political activists, and our political beliefs, we are more divided than we've ever been. So go down the list of what you think are the most important issues. Whether you give me 3, you give me 5, you give me 10, in your own mind, what is most important, right? The reason why that is, I want you to tell me how far down the list you get that the federal government has to put new guidelines on traffic signs. You know those ridiculous traffic signs? Sometimes they're funny. Most of the time they're not. You wonder whose dad is writing those dad jokes on the signs. But they're not hurting anyone. And if the state wants to do them, every once in a while they're clever. When somebody's in town, when Garth Brooks was in town, there was a Garth Brooks reference. It has to do, pop culture, things of that nature. The funniest part about this is that the U.S. Federal Highways Administration has given states 2 years to implement the changes outlined in an 1,100-page manual. Our government is so overworked and overwhelmed, I shouldn't say overworked, but certainly overwhelmed with issues to deal with and debt. This place, I wonder how much money they spent on this 1,100-page manual. Here's ABC with this happening across the country.
The last decade, states' departments of transportation have been getting cute with laying down the road law. Ohio had a big electronic message board that said, "Visiting in-laws? Slow down. Get there late." One July 4th, Pennsylvania told drivers to not get, quote, "star-spangled hammered." But these signs might be going away. In the newest edition of the Federal Highway Administration's Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, it says that humorous signs, quote, "might be misunderstood or understood only by a limited segment of road users," end quote.
Who cares? In Massachusetts, again, I'm not good at accents, but in your best Boston accent, it says, "use your blinker," is what they put on the sign. In Arizona, hands on the wheel, not your meal. They're afraid people might not get it. They might be confused. It's distracting. Well, drive down the road. Why don't we get rid of digital billboards? How about we do that? Let's get rid of the billboards on the road. They could be distracting, couldn't they? This is the absurdity of this. I look at this and you think, how many different things can distract you? And we have become, just for whatever reason this weekend, I was thinking about this. I'm thinking about my grandfather. My grandfather was a retired mechanic, and he was such a hero to me. And I remember back then, my grandfather would have done anything for me, for any of the grandkids especially, but for me, would have done anything for me. He'd take me with him on trips. We'd go to all these different things and go to the junkyard when he'd buy parts to fix something, and I'd stand on the seat next to him. Seatbelts were optional. Side view mirrors were optional on a vehicle. We've got, and I'm not complaining about the safety things, the airbags and the seatbelts, and they beep when you don't have them on and all. I get all that. I get it. You're going to tell me that this is necessary. This is one of those areas of pushback. Nobody cares about those signs. That's the other part of it. Nobody cares. It's not like if they go away, we're all going to be angry because we love to see what they're going to come up with next. It's not that clever. But how many distractions? The billboards on the freeways, that's not a distraction. If you're distracted by that, you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car. We have texting and driving laws now. You can't text and drive. But you can't. They don't stop you from doing other things. Eating, that's one of the things. Hands off the wheel, or hands on the wheel, not on your meal, because people eat while they drive. I know somebody that used to drive down the freeway. I'm not gonna say her name, but she used to have a minivan, and she would drive down the freeway with a cup of coffee before we had those thermos cups, but a mug of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other, driving down the 17 to work. I've told the story about driving north on the 17 in rush hour traffic, bumper to bumper rush hour traffic, past an old Datsun truck. That's how long ago this was. Driving past the Datsun truck, and there was something hanging out of the driver's window. As I passed by the driver, he was playing the guitar. It was the neck of the guitar that was sticking out the window. That's distracted driving too. But now we're going to say these signs, somebody thought of this. Somebody actually sat down and thought, this is one of the things we need to do. And then we've got to get verbiage in the rules. I just want to know. I would love to know if there's anybody out there that works in that world that finds out where these budgets are. What was the U.S. Federal Highway Administration's budget for their 1,100-page manual that spelled out rules? Now, there's other things besides this. Administration officials said the overhead electronic signs with obscured meanings, references to pop culture intended to be funny will be banned because they could be misunderstood or distract drivers. Completely a joke.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.